Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
My dog went flying through the air over the tree. I don't know how it did it.
Okay.
Deep in Bigfoot territory, Episode 10, The Mystery of Loys Ape. This is a Squatch Mafia documentary. Over 100 years ago, a mysterious photo was taken in the depths of the Venezuelan jungle. Ever since it became known to the wider public in the early 1930s, the photograph has sparked controversy and debate. It became one of the classics of early cryptozoology and appeared in countless articles and books. The photo, which allegedly depicts an unknown primate, was captured by Swiss geologist François Deloy around 1918 or 1919 during an adventurous expedition in the depths of the Amazon rainforest. Let us take a look at the photo and its backstory and explore the mystery of Loys Ape for a moment. Louis-François Deloy, born in 1892 and deceased in 1935, was a Swiss geologist and the head of an expedition into the rainforests of Venezuela and Colombia in the early 1920s. In 1917, Deloy and his team began a 3-year-long expedition into the South American jungle in search for oil. From the 20 members that started the expedition in 1917, only Deloy and 3 other men survived until its end in 1920. The team had its home base presumably in La Fria, a village at the Venezuela-Colombia border, to which they returned frequently. For nearly the entire time, the group was involved in aggressive conflicts with the local native tribes, mostly the Motilone Indians, a tribe that was said to be extremely dangerous and violent, and which had no peaceful contact with the modern Western world until the 1960s. Deloy later wrote that no fewer than 15 of his men had been killed by the arrows of native tribesmen, and that he himself was shot in the thigh. On their search for oil, the men stayed for months in the wilderness around the River Tara and Rio Catatumbo, a mountainous region, heavily forested, and with dense jungles on the highland plateaus. In the early 20th century, the region was completely unexplored by Westerners. On one day in late 1918 or early 1919, the group had a strange encounter in the forests and mountains of this region. As the story goes, the men were resting in the deep jungles near the River Tara as 2 strange creatures suddenly walked out of the tree line next to the men. The creatures looked like strange, 5 feet tall, upright walking apes and stared at the men. After a second, the 2 creatures began to act aggressive, breaking branches from the trees next to them, holding and swinging them like weapons. The men, who had never seen creatures like that before, were shocked. The upright walking apes clearly began to threaten the men with the branches as they drew closer. As the creatures began to scream and to throw their excrements at the men, one of the expedition members fired his gun at one of the creatures. The shot creature was immediately killed, while the other 5-foot-tall ape fled back into the deep jungle. The men remained, shocked and baffled. After a while, Deloy began to examine the strange creature, before the famous photo was shot. He described the creature as approximately 5 feet or 1.5 meters tall, muscular, and weighing around 60 kilograms, which would be much taller and heavier than any known monkey of the region. Loys also noted that the creature had reddish fur, no tail, and 32 teeth, like modern humans, unlike New World monkeys, which typically have 36 teeth. He described the hands and feet of the creature as hook-shaped, and also described the sexual organs of the creature as a penis, but it was later realized that it was indeed a very large female clitoris. The description of Loys seems to match the photos well. As far as it is known, only one photo of the creature's carcass exists. The men kept the carcass as they continued their jungle trip for the next few weeks. However, they lost various belongings on their journey back to civilization, and ultimately weren't able to retain the carcass of the creature. They decided to keep only the head and the skin of the strange ape-like animal, but both were lost later in a boating accident, as the men's boat capsized on the River Tara. As Loys finally returned to Europe in 1921, his notes and the photo of the cryptid were the only pieces of evidence of the strange encounter that had survived the journey. Loys, who became a successful oil prospector after his return home, wrote an article on the encounter shortly after his return. However, it seems that the article, published in a French newspaper, didn't gain much popularity, and Loys never mentioned the creature or the photo in public again. That changed in 1929 when French anthropologist Georges Montandon, a friend of Loys, discovered a copy of the newspaper article from 1921 at Loys's house. Montandon, who concluded that the photo must depict an anthropoid ape, published it in various scientific journals and magazines. Even the London Times printed an article about it. This time, the publication of the photo sparked immediate discussions and controversies in anthropological science and the newspapers of the late 1920s. Montandon suggested that the photo might show a missing link between apes and modern humans in South America, attempting to establish the creature as a new, previously undiscovered species of great apes. In 1944, Montandon was murdered by French partisans. Loys himself had already passed away in 1935. But the photo of Loys Ape never truly disappeared from the public eye, causing controversies even many decades after it was captured. Perhaps the first individual to link the photo of Loys Ape with certain native legends from the Amazonian rainforest was Dr. Bernard Heuvelmans, one of the founding fathers of modern cryptozoology. In his classic 1958 book, On the Track of Unknown Animals, he covered the case and the photo widely. Heuvelmans pointed to the fact that tropical South America is home to a list of ape-like creature accounts and pieces of art, some described as Bigfoot-like or wildman-like. These creatures were often referred to as mono grande, and tales of them have been known to Western explorers since the 16th century. In 1553, a journal entry by Spanish explorer Chiesa de Leon described second-hand observations of the mono grande in the Colombian forests, including the discovery of a large carcass. In 1596, Sir Walter Raleigh documented similar stories during an expedition in the jungles of Guyana. He noted that natives told stories of large apes living deep in the jungle, known for their extreme aggression. Raleigh was informed that these apes sometimes kidnapped women or killed men in the jungles. In 1799, German explorer Alexander von Humboldt also documented similar stories in the jungles of Venezuela. It's highly unlikely that François Deloy had heard of any of the stories later listed by Heuvelmans. In the late 1960s, following the release of the Patterson-Gimlin footage, the works of early cryptozoologists like Heuvelmans or Ivan T. Sanderson again gained popularity, and various researchers and authors noted an interesting fact. Certain tribes of the Pacific Northwest, mostly in British Columbia and on Vancouver Island, created various masks, totems, and depictions of a creature they called Zunukwa, a large ape-like beast said to inhabit the deep forests and mountains. Described as an ogress-like figure who steals children and carries them home in her basket to eat, the creature resembles a naked monster covered with black or reddish fur. There are indeed some slight similarities between the Zunukwa mask of the Pacific Northwest, one of the many Bigfoot figures in native North American tales, and the photo of Loys Ape. Particularly, the ocular area of the masks resembles the unique bony ridge of Loys Ape. Some authors have suggested that the widespread stories of encounters with large apes in the Americas could be the result of a vast migration route of these creatures, from the Bering Strait to the tropical rainforests of Middle and South America. Skeptics believe that the photo of the Loys ape merely depicts an extremely unusual and deformed spider monkey, a species native to the jungles of Venezuela. But Loys described the cryptid as 5 feet or 1.5 meters tall, far too tall for a spider monkey. He also stated that the creature had 32 teeth, while spider monkeys have 36 teeth, like all New World monkeys. Additionally, Loys and his men were undoubtedly familiar with all sorts of wildlife in the area, including spider monkeys, which are not particularly rare. Thus, their reaction to the encounter makes it unlikely that they encountered just ordinary spider monkeys. It is also a fact that Loys mentioned several times that the creatures had no tails, while spider monkeys, of course, have a very distinct tail. The encounter itself is particularly compelling, and paired with the amazing photograph, makes it believable that the entire experience was genuine. The fact that Loys did not mention the photo for about 10 years after his return to Europe, and that only the coincidental finding by Loys' friend Montandon made the photo public also makes a hoax unlikely. The various historic stories and encounter reports of the Mono Grande by Westerners, which date back to the late 16th century, additionally lend some credibility to the story of Loys and his expedition. The tales from the natives of the Amazon rainforest, of course, predate these reports by Westerners by hundreds, if not thousands of years. These tales span from the jungle-covered highland plateaus of Colombia and Venezuela to the Atlantic coast of Guyana and Brazil. However, the photo and its backstory are a classic chapter in cryptozoology and remain fascinating until today. What's your opinion on Loys ape and cryptids in South America? Let me know in the comments section. Hit the like button if you have enjoyed this episode of Bigfoot Territory. Subscribe to the Squatch Mafia channel at YouTube for more videos on Bigfoot and Sasquatch. Check out Squatch Mafia at Patreon and TikTok for extra content. Thank you for watching.